podcast episode takes us back down memory lane. Times of 2010 when we would rely on job fairs and methods like putting ads in the paper for attracting talent. Uh, Shravan Kumar today is my Talent Superhero podcast guest, and what we cover is a fascinating story of ramp ups, not once but twice. And then we talk about how do you attract talent in an engineering company with a combination of mechanical engineers and IT engineers, and how do you excite IT folks to join. Also, one of the only unique stories I know of building a brand consistently and achieving two combinations of unique things. A, getting diversity up to almost 40% in a mechanical engineering firm, and B, helping get his Glassdoor numbers up over a period of a couple of years as he scaled the org. Usually, there is the inverse correlation. It's a fascinating conversation with one of our true talent superheroes, recognized as India's top 30 talent leaders in 2024 by Forbes and Indeed. Shravan Kumar is the head of talent acquisition for India and Southeast Asia at TE Connectivity. Shravan Kumar, welcome to the podcast. Look forward to having a fun conversation with you.
Thank you so much, Sudarshan. It is really nice speaking to you as well.
I'm excited about your story, Shravan, largely because I think you went from 90 to 1,000 people at iSoft pretty early, right? Back in the days. Around the 2010 timeframe? Can you uncover a little bit about the story for us?
Sure. So iSoft used to be a company which does a lot of projects for the UK healthcare. In fact, so we were hiring a lot of people for the healthcare sector to set a platform for, say, the healthcare in the UK. Right.
Uh-huh.
So there was a situation where we had to say ramp up because we got a huge project from the UK government to build the healthcare platform there. And that is where say the company started growing. So when I joined this company, which was only about some 95 people,
Uh-huh.
and we had a large target, like say huge target to say achieve, where we want to hire people for ASP.NET, Microsoft hashtag
Uh-huh.
.NET, and Java professionals and all these kind of people. And 2010-11, you can imagine it
Yeah.
was a boom period
Uh-huh.
where, like say, IT was its uh, peak. And
Correct.
that time, when we wanted to hire, say, these people, we did not have all these social media what we have today,
Correct.
right? So I'm sure today the recruiters have the luxury of sitting at the desk and then hiring people using the social media platform, touching all these people at the digital touch points. But 2010-11 was a time where, like say, all that we used to do is only look for the Wednesday Hindu opportunities or ascent of times which used to come on say Tuesday, right?
Yeah.
So we used to make say all these advertisement, publish in these newspaper ads, look for people,
Uh-huh.
send out mass mailers in Naukri. Naukri was the only job board during that time
Uh-huh.
where we were able to send out mass mailers and of course employer referrals. So we used to send out. And I'm not sure how many of you still recall the Yahoo groups used to be there for people like
I
technology and
remember.
all those things,
Yes. Yes.
right?
Yes.
So we used to say be part of all these Yahoo groups, send out say mass mailers there, use
Correct.
Naukri, and
Correct.
then go to some hotel and then use a mass hiring event and conduct interviews. There
Uh-huh.
used to be a huge list of people say waiting at the lobby, waiting for the interviews for 4 5 hours. So
Uh-huh.
that was a fun time where we had all these kind of say environment, and it was fun where meeting people in person, not everything was virtual, right? There was no
Correct.
concept of
Correct.
having things virtual. So it was good fun. So we used to conduct all these interviews at every location at different say cities, go there, make it public that we are coming on this particular date for this interview skills and all those, take a huge team with us to do interviews for say .NET, Java, testing, and so on and so forth. Go meet all people and then come with bundle of papers in hand and then say release offer letter the next day. So
Right.
that has
Right.
been a huge say success for us those days without all these platforms. And we used to hire at least like say 100 people on board every month for
Yeah,
various
I can
skills.
imagine. I can
And that
imagine because you had no. See, first of all, right, I think it's underappreciated. the access to data we have, the access to technologies we have, it's almost it's almost a given or a granted now, right?
Absolutely.
But 14 years back, I mean, can you imagine a candidate had to wait till every Wednesday, open a paper to say who's hiring, and then you have to hope
Right.
they see and you have to hope they show up, right?
Right.
It's a very different world, and it was branding at that point, right? Like getting a
That
job ad on a newspaper.
Absolutely. So that's a big time branding to get a space in the newspaper, because not every space, every spot in the newspaper was attractive, right? So we
Correct.
used to say book in advance as to say which part of the newspaper, in the corners, that we need to say book it across, and
Right.
work with these media folks.
Right. Oh, yeah, yeah. So the way to hack that was to find and be in advance so you get the right slot, right? And I
Correct.
can imagine there must have been hundreds of posts in that just one paper slide.
Yes,
And
absolutely. And there was a lot of artwork also being done, saying like, say, what attracts people to look
yeah,
into this advertisement and all those things.
correct,
So those were
correct.
real good golden days, I should say.
Right, right. Oh, and I think you repeated that magic. If I look at your career, you went off to HP, and
Yeah,
I think you were the second person there in Chennai, right?
absolutely.
And you again built that practice out to what 1,500 odd people.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
so now that you've done this two times, and I think 1,500 in about 6 9 months,
7 months, in fact.
7 months, right? So
So we leverage all channels to say make it 1,500, in fact.
nice. Now
Yeah.
between iSoft and HP must have had a little bit of a brand, but was it known, in that time
Uh,
frame in Chennai?
sure. So I will say in Chennai, in fact, if you look at HP was known for the BPO center, which was already there,
Uh
but
huh.
not known for the IT sector.
Uh huh.
So I was the second person in HP Chennai to set up this division, and all that we did is a lot of say job fairs. So as I said, there were a lot of job fairs conducted by the Hindu those days. In a lot of say the Stoultry, they used to set up this IT job fair. So we used to be sponsors for those IT job fairs. Put up our name saying like, say, this is what we do. Go to a lot of job fairs, if not a sponsor, at least as a participation, and
Uh-huh.
then say create a visibility there. So that is the way that we have been creating our brand those days without the social media platform. And
Uh-huh.
we were hiring all these niche skills during that time itself in SAP, Siebel, CRM. So a lot of things which I'm sure not many are being say are hired these days, but the technology has advanced. But these
Correct.
kind of people we used to hire in those days only just with paper advertisements.
Yeah, and I think the inefficiency, right? You go to a job fair, you stand all day.
Yeah,
Some of these channels are inherently inefficient, but the only option, right?
absolutely.
So, and I know that a lot of recruiters who are joining the workforce today or have been in the workforce for the last 5 years. Um, I don't, I don't think they have this historical context. It's a little bit like when my mother used to tell me I used to walk from one village to another for school. We never appreciated it because we always had a bus showed up at our doorstep. We would sit in it and we'd go to school. And or my son has a car now at his service in the event that there is a problem with the bus. But it's like that, right? It's such a different generation
Very true.
uh, that
Uh,
I mean, like, so how do you leverage some of these as a TA leader, some of these experiences and stories to kind of motivate or educate your team to do what's needed? Because a lot of things are much easier now, but they still need the same diligence to maintain that touch with a candidate, to talk to them, right?
Right. So I will say the method of sourcing has improved a lot. The technology has definitely say transformed the way we used to source, right? So right from a paper where you we used to say attract talent, to social media sites where people within just small frame, like say they get all the job opportunities in front of them, they click on it, the recruiters get all these profiles. So things have changed so much. So is the technology, where everything has transformed. And as rightly you said, we used to go in cycles or like say in bus to go to school, but today kids have say app in their hand to say book a cab and then say go to school, right?
Yeah, yeah,
so
yeah, correct.
so a lot of things have changed, and I think we have to be very successful as we progress in all these changes in the trend as well, where we get adopted to it. And we speak
Right.
so much about AI ML now, so again we have to get adopted to how AI ML is going to change the game now.
Correct. Correct. It's very interesting. In fact, um, I noticed a very beautiful strand of talent branding, employer branding through your profile, right? Because iSoft, nobody knew, you had to ramp up like nuts.
Yeah.
HP was known for something else, but you still had to ramp up like nuts, right? And now, if I look at TE connectivity, right, um, I understand 8,000 odd people, 1,500 captive. You're hiring two very different types of skill sets, right? Like you're hiring for core engineering, you're hiring for IT,
Right.
very different worlds. So tell me something like, how the employer branding and TE connectivity, while it might be a huge firm, problem for any GCC is not only here, right? So how do you attract and excite some of these mechanical engineers to come and work for T connectivity? What are some initiatives you did in today's age and time, right?
Okay. So today things have changed so much as we speak, right? So things have changed so much that, like, say, people think, why should I apply to this role in this organization?
Mm-hmm.
What is in there for me when I join this organization? I think that is what we are building on. So we speak a lot in terms of, say, what is that you look, meaning your life looks like, say, when you join, say, T. So our
Mm-hmm.
employee value proposition, if I have to say, so it says hashtag life at T, which means that, like, say, when you join this organization, what is that you're going to get? What is that you're going to work on?
Mm-hmm.
How is that you're going to have a work life balance?
Mm-hmm.
And what is your career advancement and growth? I think that is what we speak more in all our branding, saying, like, life at T is not just say work, not just say doing some research work and coming up with a new product development. There's more beyond your work, and this is how the culture, this is what you do when you join, say, an organization, this is how your life is going to be when you work at T, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that's basically to highlight what more we give for an employee when they work at T.
Mm-hmm.
And on an average, if you look at, say, in Glassdoor reviews or any other social media platform, like how many people are working in T, how long they have been working in T, on an average, you will see at least, like, say, 7 to 10 years is what they stay. That
Right.
speaks about the culture of the organization. And you'll
Right.
still be surprised to see people with, say, 30, 40 years in T itself and growing from an engineer trainee to a CTO also,
Right.
right? So that's how it is.
I really want to double click on that Glassdoor, because as people scale their organizations, I have seen companies' Glassdoors kind of go down or at best stay stagnant. But I think over the last 3 years, it's almost like you managed to scale, and you managed to, like, improve that candidate experience and handle reputation management in a very smart way, right? So
Absolutely.
can you double click a little bit on it, and would love to learn a little insights there.
Okay, so what we do is we ensure that, like, say, we focus more on the candidate experience, right? From the time the candidate is approached for a job or
Mm-hmm.
they apply to, say, T, we ensure that, like, say, there is a feedback given to the candidate and they're not just, say, left as is to the relevant candidate, definitely,
Mm-hmm.
right? And also ensure that, like, say, through the journey when they are getting interviewed, we make them comfortable, we give them sufficient information as to say what they are getting interviewed for, who is the person who they are going to meet, what is the focus going to be for this person during the interview. So they are given kind of, say, comfort to the best possible so that they know that the journey in TE to get an opportunity is as smooth as possible and they have every other information in front of them. So that's more important for a candidate journey. So that's
Mm-hmm.
something which has really helped.
Mm-hmm.
After joining T, the experience that they go through during the onboarding is also
Mm-hmm.
important because that is what is going to decide how long they're going to stay with us,
Right.
right? So
Right.
we ensure that at the time of interview, at the time of onboarding, and we give them sufficient time to say settle down. We take all these experiences and measure as to say how we have done well in terms of giving that comfort. So there's a metric, say, measured for that. And obviously, we also ask them, like, say, if you're really happy, just give us, say, what your experience is in Glassdoor, and
Mm-hmm.
that's how we have been promoting in the social media platform. And at the same time, we tell these new joiners, look, you have been successful, we want more successful people like you to join us. So go ahead and tell us, like, say, what your experiences in T is. And
Mm-hmm.
they go write, say, all those articles in LinkedIn, which make
Mm-hmm.
people approach them, and then, say, we
Right.
get those leads as well, and that's how
Right.
our Glassdoor reviews have been increasing as well.
In fact, you know what? That's so insightful, Shravan, right? Because a lot of leaders today face this problem of somebody escalating ad hominem to, somebody in leadership, saying, I had this bad experience. And when they escalate, they only escalate directly to the top,
Very
right?
true.
And but and then somebody will at that deal with that frustration, right? It will suck a lot of bandwidth. After it sucks a lot of bandwidth, the person will say, oh, we should do something about this for reputation management, right? But what's exciting or what's interesting about what you said is you didn't start with reputation management.
No,
You started with candidate experience, right? Like,
absolutely.
unless you focus on somebody to join, deliver a good experience, help them stay, right? Which is make them successful inside.
Yeah,
Then you ask them for feedback, you naturally will get your scores go up because you have sufficiently demonstrated your willingness to help them succeed, right?
absolutely.
So versus it being the other way around, where
Right.
everybody's saying, oh, I need to correct or fix my reputation, right? But you don't fix your reputation. Now, fixing a candidate experience requires you to fix your systems, it requires you to
Yes.
recruiter training. You need to go there. So I loved that. And I'm so glad we spoke about candidate experience. Tell me
Right.
something. I also noticed, right, that when you looked at your employer brand and you were looking at this, you have two different cohorts of people. How did you convince IT folks to join
Okay.
a mechanical engineering company, right? That's not easy either.
Absolutely. So I should say, uh, for mechanical engineers, I'm sure, like say, there are very few companies that they keep say following, and
Uh-huh.
T is one of it. So,
Correct.
and moreover, T is not very well known in the industry. When I joined, at least, like say, not much of visibility for the organization, and T earlier was called as Tyco Electronics. Tyco
Uh-huh.
Group is a name that say people are more familiar with,
Uh-huh.
right?
Uh-huh.
And for us, it was important that, like say, not just this mechanical, electrical, electronics engineer, or mechatronics engineer, what we
Uh-huh.
hire,
Uh-huh.
should be knowing about it. And when we
Uh-huh.
started expanding our captive center, where we started working or supporting for the T worldwide on various technologies and platform,
Uh-huh.
we started say giving that feedback, like say, look, for a IT person, you work for a client, but who is your
Correct.
client? The client is another manufacturing company, or like say any other industry for that matter, right?
Correct.
Or else it is a product company that you'll be working for. If you are doing a service for your client, which means that, like say, you are a service provider and there is a client, and
Mm-hmm.
who is the client? We are the client on the other side. So why don't you join the client directly instead of say working through a service organization? I think that message started passing, where people started realizing that I'm going to say change table or the sides of the table and go from a service provider to be a client itself. And that's how people
Right.
started looking at roles today. And today, what I see is, after the kind of say trend what we see in IT and the manufacturing industry picking up these days with a lot of new companies coming in,
Right.
everyone wants to be in a product company,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
And these kind of change in trend or change in the industry preferences has helped us also to say that we position well, saying like say we are no less than an IT company, right? So we give the same
Correct.
benefits, we give the same kind of work environment. You work in a very sophisticated workplace where you have everything as what you get in an IT industry. So that is
Right.
one which gave them the confidence that, like say, may it be on the service provider or the product, so the service or the work is going to be the same. So I'm not going to work for another client, but I'm going to work for my own company. So
Right.
working for your own company in a product company is more important. So that's how the
Right.
messaging was. And people today do not see much difference from an IT to a manufacturing. They get the same kind of benefit. They get a kind of say coverage in terms of insurance or whatever benefit and perks they look for. And I think that has helped me to say position well within an IT sector as well.
And it's interesting, like a true branding expert, you talked about positioning and messaging. And those are
Yes.
so understated, but they form the fabric of everything that happens in every conversation, right?
Right.
Because if you're talking to any talent out there, and especially in a talent in a sector where you're known for a particular industry, the positioning and messaging is what's going to make a difference for somebody to say, oh yeah, makes sense, right? I can see
Right.
myself fitting here, because and it's not obvious to candidates, especially when they have so many choices, right? That and
True.
IT talent has many choices as well. So
Very
tell
true.
me now, I have two things I want to get into. One is, yeah, you've achieved about 40% representation of women. Okay. And that's in a mechanical and IT kind of combination, both of which are insanely hard. Okay, like mechanical
True,
itself is hard, right?
true.
Mechanical and IT combination is harder. What were some specific initiatives and strategies you implemented, right, to attract them and then retain them, right?
Sure. So I should say, improving diversity, or for that matter, any company which has an aspiration to grow their percentage on diversity, it has to be a journey. It cannot be done overnight. So that's the
Yeah,
first thing that
yeah.
everyone has to say, believe and agree that, like, say, I start today, which means that I have to go through a journey. If I just go stand in the market and shout, saying, like, say, I'm this kind of a company and I'm looking for diversity, no one is going to come and say, join you. You need to give that assurance to these target audience that you want to attract, saying, like, say, why should you join this organization? What is that you have in this organization? What is that you don't have in the current organization which you're going to get here? So that messaging has to go on and create a lot of visibility and comfort for these people to say, look at, saying, like, say, I have been watching this company for the last, say, 1-2 years. I think I have been looking at this company which is very consistent in their messaging on the diversity strategy that they have, or the kind of importance that comes from the leadership team, and
Mhm.
that is what changed their mind and apply for these kind of roles, right?
Mm.
And you can imagine where, in a trend where a lot of colleges are taking off mechanical department,
I know.
and the last 10-15 years people have been leaning towards IT and many have gone towards
Correct.
IT.
Mm.
We still went behind, say, all these colleges, asking, tell us who are your alumni, where, like, they have graduated from these colleges, and then started looking at where they are working now and how do I attract those people to come to T. So there have
Nice.
been a lot of these kind of strategies put, saying, like, say, first identify where this pool of people are, what is that they're currently doing, and how do I attract them to say, look, or, like, say, what, turn back and see, like, say, what T is,
Right.
right? So
Right.
that's a lot of, say, time that has gone in investing where this pool of people is, and
Right.
then how do I make them turn around and see, like, say, what T is, and then make them apply. So it's a journey. It's not something that we have done overnight, and we have been consistently doing, because when you start something, it is important that you have to be following it consistently. You cannot
Correct.
just drop it
Correct.
anywhere in between,
Correct.
and that consistency makes people watch, saying, like, say, I keep hearing about this every now and then, so what is happening here? So they start following, they start seeing, like, say, what is in it, and at
Right.
some point of time they just say that, okay, fine, so let me explore something here, and that's how we just say, pull them in.
So tell me something, if I have to double click on this from a time frame, I agree it's a journey, right? What's is it a 1 year journey, a 3 year journey, a 5 year journey, right? What is it that you would suggest? Because I know a lot of CXOs today care and focus on diversity.
Right. So I will say at least minimum 2 years of consistent, say, messaging and, say, staying focused on it will help. So I
Got
think 1 year is too short, because, like, say, you would have just created that visibility, but no one would have noticed.
Correct.
2 years is a good time frame where they are noticing and then start following you, and then say that, okay, fine, this is what I think I should land
Right. And then so this was the attraction and the
at.
piece of it, right?
Absolutely.
What about the interviewing, the subsequent process? Because getting them into the door is step one, which is a journey. How do you then convert them, right? Like,
Okay.
what any practices there that you can share?
Sure. So there is a reassurance that we give for all our diverse applicants who apply to T, saying that it's not just that, like, say, during the interview process, we ask you questions and then you're selected or rejected, whatever it is. During the interview process, we also encourage another diversity candidate to sit along with a panel,
Got
so
it.
that the candidate is comfortable looking at another diverse candidate there, asking some
Right.
questions which they're not comfortable asking the interviewer, if it
Right.
is a male candidate, right?
Right.
So we encourage, say, having a panel where it is a diverse candidate, and give that flexibility and comfort for the candidate to ask questions which is not, say, something that everyone can answer. So
Right.
that kind of reassurance happens during the interview process as well. And
Right.
that's how I think people are getting more interested. That is number one. And number two is, we also share them at the time of interview itself, like, say, what other flexibility that you get when working at T. May it be work from home, working remotely, how much work-life balance that you get in case if you have a kid, what needs to be done, and all those kind of things are being, say, looked at.
Right. No, and that's fascinating because the comfort in the interview process, right, has to match the branding and positioning.
Very true.
Because a lot of times people come to interviews to show how much they know more than the other person, but the nuance for this segment is very different, right? It's a reverse pitch. You are kind of talking, you're evaluating, but you're also building that comfort, because once they get in, the performance bar will be higher or the retention will be much easier, right?
Correct.
And then it contributes to that cycle of success,
Absolutely.
right, in this sense. So um, hey, I want to close with this. I know we're already at about the 25-minute mark. Firstly, congratulations on winning the top 30 talent leaders, right, in
Thank you. Thank
2024.
you so
Must have
much.
been quite a ride. What do you think the secret sauce is to be a celebrated TA leader?
First, like say, to be very honest and authentic. When you say something, like say how much honest and authentic you are is what matters. And then say giving back to the society. So as I said, I have been in TA for at least like for like 20 years, right? So
Right,
whatever I have learned, how am I contributing back to the society and to the organization that I work for in achieving the goals and aspirations what the company has? So that's more important.
right.
And then all put together, like say how are you guiding your other fellow members and the juniors who are growing in their career, that is also more important. So a lot of aspects that we look into all these things, and then say help each other in the industry to make it a much more successful workplace. I think that is what uh, and how I have been say projecting myself also, being approachable, and that's what made me to say get that kind of an award as well.
Excellent, Shravan. Authenticity, honesty, and your giving back spirit shown right through this conversation. I know our listeners are going to love learning from your journey. Um, it was a pleasure talking to you, Shravan. You're one true talent superhero. Thank you so much for making time and joining our podcast today.